let's start with like daily routines, something like that. What do you think about that? Like, what is your daily routine, for example, Alfie, as like when you're working?
The most important thing, in my opinion, is the program and the schedule you have to do for your life in this case.
Yeah.
And this schedule and programming is the very most important thing if you really want the consistency in every subject in your life.
Yes.
For example, in our case, these weekly plans that we always use to have the podcast. This is the really good for our job
For
because
consist. Yeah.
this make yeah, this is because we always have the consistency to these stuffs at these times, and this
Yeah.
led us to have a plan, to have subject, to
Okay.
have think about the guests and lots of
Yeah.
stuff. This is really
Yeah.
important. What's your idea, bro?
Yeah. So like I'm really really bad at scheduling and really really bad at planning. And usually how I did it for my job as a musician was just like work, 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 work every day basically. So like I usually like I follow often, or I did follow oftentimes in my life a strict routine of waking up in the morning and making coffee and getting into the studio and work, and this gave me somewhat of a consistency, I guess, but that's like a little bit different. I think that planning is very necessary, of course, but I also think that a lot of artists, especially, have an issue with that. Like they are naturally not organized in many cases, I feel. And I think that a lot of artists just don't have any meaningful planning going on. I think, like, I don't know, but that's my what I saw also with other artists is that they pretty much live into the blue. Like, oh yeah, okay, just like work, 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 work. What came out with me is that if you're not planning properly and not scheduling, etc., maybe you do a lot, but the problem is that it's very unfocused, and often also I'm working into the nothing. So I'm actually producing a lot of stuff, but since it's all hanging in the cosmos and not really, it's not really clear what to do with that stuff in the first place, I often tend to just like let that stuff just like I forget about the work or something like that, or I just leave it and it never sees the light of the day. Nobody will ever see it because I didn't have a plan for it, you know what I mean? Like there is no plan, so I'm doing a lot. For example, I probably made more than 1,000 tracks in my life, but like maybe only 50 are released or something like that, you know what I mean? Like, and I think I
Exactly.
I think I wasted a lot of my energy like that by not really working like the rest of the world, pretty much with a schedule. So it didn't work out for me that great, I believe, and I really think it's one of the things that I, as a creator, also can improve upon on. It's like really be more fucking laser focused about what you're doing. Take your work seriously, and if you're taking your work seriously, then you wouldn't waste your work so much. But it's also a lot about like the fluctuation of energy and the fluctuation of even confidence and stuff like that. That can also be not good in some cases, for me at least. But yeah, so usually when I'm working, I'm in the last year it was not that easy because actually there are not motivational points. Like I didn't have a lot of bookings in the last year, like nobody. And usually back in the past, that were always points in my life where I was like very motivated because I knew, okay, in that at that time, in a month or something like that, I'm going to travel to a nice festival or something. And in those times, like high motivational phases, you can call them, or something like that. In those times, I usually work really long and quite concentrated also, like from my favorite rhythm. My favorite working rhythm is really to get up early, actually. like maybe like 8, 9 o'clock. And if I'm very motivated, I might work until like 11, 12 in the night. How's your day plan usually? When do you get up, Alfie?
For me, it starts actually at the morning, at 10, 9, 10 in the morning. Depends on the last night, actually. But most of the time, it's 9, 10. And I do some stuff for cryptocurrency and these kind of stuffs
Yeah.
till the
Some.
uh, till my students and do some stuffs with the students things, and then I start to work on my project on 5 or 6, and do it until I die. Actually, I have the same problem with overworking 24/7, and I think the hard working is a really important part of the job.
Yeah. Discipline.
Discipline, yeah.
Discipline.
What, why you want to do these stuffs,
Yeah.
and how really hard you want it to do
Yeah.
to achieve your goals in this case.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the important word. Goals.
What is
Goals.
the motivation?
Yeah.
Do
Exactly.
you have any motivation to do it? For me, the motivation for our podcast is uh, telling people the lots of information, getting lots of people who involve with the similar thing that we love. For example, in this case, is music. So these are really important things.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. It's,
what is your motivation to do?
yeah.
And the motivation wake you up early, make you work hard to achieve your goals. This is really important if you want have a high level stuffs as a content
Yeah.
creator or any kind of creation.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, when I go back in my life, like I had incredibly a lot of motivation when I was a young person to yeah to achieve to get to play to get to travel the world and everything. But the thing is that I kind of achieved those things now. Like it's somewhat in the past almost. It feels like right now, but I'm now in a different point. So I would have to like reinvent a new goal and a new and create new motivations for that. Like, what is the next step in my life? Do I want to do what I did in the past just better or just bigger or something like that, or do I want to go into a different direction? Yeah, we have one question from one guy here. Well, how's life going without parties? How's life going without parties? It's boring for me at least, because for me, I'm not missing the parties as much as I miss the travel. To be honest, that's for me. But yeah, hopefully it's starting again at some point. But even for that, even if you want to play, you actually need to have sort of discipline and planning, and even it plays into that. Like like if you want to play a lot, then you actually have to kind of be in contact with a lot of people, work out a good press kit, send that press kit to the most important thing, be a good communicator, be a good networker. Like there's so many things that are demanded from a modern content creator apart from just doing content. You know what I mean? Like, for example, if you want to be a successful musician, it's not only to do great music. It's really not at all that, because as a matter of fact, actually there are tons of shitty musicians that are constantly booked, at least in my opinion. And they're getting booked because they're good in all the other things. They're good in marketing, they're good in promoting themselves. They're good in selling themselves. Um, so those are also kind of important things. Yeah. Um, I don't know what you mean by can I join you guys? Of course you can join us. You already joined us, bro. It's like basically.
something
Guys,
good.
we are talking about consistency for the people who just joined in. Consistency as an artist. So, how can you be effective and how can you build up motivation? How can you build up your discipline? How important is discipline? Maybe let's just drop this question. How important do you think is discipline as a content creator and as an artist, Alfie? Like, on a level, like 1 to 10, how important?
10,
Yes, I agree.
really 10.
Yes.
It is the most fucking important thing. Because, for example, think about you make a music and then go until 3 years and then make another music and then go until 5 years. What the fuck is happening here?
Yeah, yeah,
You cannot become better and better in time without constancy,
yeah.
actually.
Consistency and discipline.
You have yeah, you have to be in the art scene and stay there and produce content
Yeah, I think
a
that
lot.
as I said, like that's like only half of the rent as an artist. Like I know a lot of artists who are doing great content, but then they are not necessarily successful. Nevertheless, it's like especially nowadays, you need to be like a marketing guy and a musician at the same time. And for both of those things, planning and discipline is needed.
Why do you think lots of artists delay their works? Why they didn't finish their jobs or didn't have the consistency
Yeah, it's because
for
it's
their
naturally
work?
kind of it's the natural like I feel almost it's the natural order of things. Like people are like artistic people often are total chaotic people in many cases. You are not, but many artists are, I believe. So I think it comes from there. Like there's just like they never really learned it. They maybe learned how to do something great creatively, but they never learned how to sell that stuff. I mean, that's the oldest fucking story of humanity. Is like people, great talent getting wasted, basically. For example, in usually labels would be or originally have been an important thing in that they, kind of organize the artists a little bit and give them like I don't know, like kind of a framework for their work. But nowadays that's not really possible anymore because actually music labels are not making enough money. Like small independent music labels, if you compare independent music labels from 20 years ago to now, 20 years ago you had millions of CDs sold, even in the psytrance genre. And that meant that, for example, one CD was worth potentially many millions of euros. That's not the case now anymore. So there is actually no funds to for the labels to put into the artists anymore. Not that much, not that much as it was in the past. And if you see at, for example, like painters, okay, like painters and artists that are more like from classical arts, like fine arts and stuff like that, they have gallerists. Though galleries are the ones who, visit the artist. They're going to come every month or every 2 weeks to the atelier and going to check for what the artist did. Will maybe give him some feedback and select the artworks that are good for release, so to say. Like pretty much as it should be in a music label, but I don't feel that it is in most music labels nowadays. Like most music labels nowadays, they are so small and they are generating so little funds. I mean, like where should they take that financial power to, like, for example, pay magazine ads or stuff like that? Not easy today.